dirt bike riding Kung Fu Spider-Man. I mean, that's what he is. So many years ago, Spider-Man was on TV in Japan. I don't believe I'm telling a history lesson here. I'm pretty sure most anybody that clicks on this video probably knows this information. Spider-Man is kind of the beginning of a lot of the Super Sentai stuff. Not that Tokusatsu wasn't already around, but this kind of set an interesting standard. Bringing Spider-Man, he brought his big mech. It was done by Marvel. He kind of led to a partnership where we kind of ended up getting Power Rangers over here, things like that. If I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, Marvel helped produce and create like 2 or 3 of the first Super Sentai shows. It's been a while since I've actually looked into this history, but it kind of all started with this guy right here. Japanese Spider-Man was not the same thing that we had over here. He has one web shooter, and it's literally a mechanical apparatus that's on his wrist. His powers seem decently different. His Peter Parker alter ego is he a stunt bike rider? Like, he rides motorcycles and stuff like that. Very much like a Kamen Rider. Aside from that, he does a whole lot of kung fu, and he fights monsters, and he has a giant robot, Leopardon, that comes out and, helps him fight. He says crazy stuff like Spider-Man, the emissary of hell. Just absolutely wild. But he does have a very interesting place in history. The show is wild fun if you ever get a chance to watch it, and I don't think that I have seen it in 15, 16 years. I remember being curious as to what this was and checking out the episodes. And like I said, I think that was 16 years ago, something like that, and I haven't watched it since. But I remember it definitely being something that stood out to me. And arguably a better show than what we had in the 70s. But I do want that Walmart exclusive 70s Spider-Man. I want it. This is a wild, wild thing. Knowing that this exists is one thing. Seeing that Marvel Legends made it so we can have it, that's a complete other thing. This I would have never expected. And when I seen that it was a thing, I wanted it. Why didn't I get it when it released? Because, look, guys, we've talked about this before. I'm into a lot of stuff. I like DC. Guess what? DC's coming out once a week. I like Marvel. Marvel's coming out once a week. I like Motu. Motu's coming out once a week. I like Ninja Turtles. Are you kidding me? With the velocity of Ninja Turtles that we've been getting lately? I like constructs. So I gotta build a Castle Grayskull, okay? I like Ghostbusters, I like Star Wars, I like Jada Street Fighter, I like Conan the Barbarian and Golden Axe and Vampirella and Taki. And when you like one thing after another, after another, after another, you tend to divide your interest and you don't hyper-focus. If I was just Marvel Legends, I'd own every Marvel Legends that had ever come out. I would. There's no doubt in my mind. Looking at the velocity in which that I've been able to put together my shelf over the years, there's no doubt in my mind that I would simply own every single Marvel Legends and then I would just sell the ones as I upgrade into the new versions. There's no doubt in my mind. None. Because I would have the money to do it. Like I would just buy a wave and be done. That's it. I'll wait for the next wave. That's not the way that it works with me often. Oftentimes, I buy 1 or 2 toys per paycheck. Relatively a toy a week. Now, I stay within the $20 to $40 range on regular, so this helps me with my spending. It's relatively, at most, $80 a paycheck. It can get more, depending on my situation, but I also do overtime in order to kind of guarantee that my stuff is taken care of while I do the things that I want to do. Because of that, if I am currently buying Batman figures or a Christopher Reeve Superman, if I'm spending my money on that, that's $20 there. It's not $20 there. And I've made this argument many times. $20 spent here is $20 you can't spend here. Where does your money go? Where's your priority lie? That's a real question. And it just so happens that at the time that they released this guy, I was buying something else, doing something else, having money problems, not currently buying toys, or maybe I was focused into comics or video games. Because that's another thing too. Sometimes I buy a video game. And if I buy a video game, I don't buy a toy. If I buy a comic book, I don't buy a toy. This is the way that it works. So I missed him. But luckily, he did not skyrocket to a point where I was unable to obtain him. I think this guy was like $30 or something like that at the convention. I honestly can't remember. I know we did the episode where I talked about it, but I've already forgotten what his price tag was. The only price tag I really remember is the expensive one at the table. The Wolverine Sabretooth was an $80 drop. That's the one that sticks in my head, which blatantly tells me that this guy was not much of a problem. Let's open it. Somehow this background seems to really work right now with this Spider-Man, and I'm sure there's a reason for that. But here he is. This is technically the 1970s Spider-Man. One of them, to be fair. Let's get a look at him, shall we? We have the web shooter right here. Oh my gosh, he feels like he's going to need to be kind of popped out and everything. But there, we've got his web shooter right there. It actually says Spider-Man. See that? That's actually kind of cool that that's a thing. But there he is. That's his web shooter. He would just kind of put his arm out like this, and then it would shoot a web, which once again, this web effect, we just went over this in our previous video. I don't like it. I've never been a fan of it, but there it is. He has only 2 sets of hands. Oh my gosh, his stuff, he might need to be friggin' heated up and popped out. He is very resistant to me right out of the box. I think he's going to need a little work. It comes with these 2 things, just some splash webs, which are fine. It comes with punching hands, not climbing hands, but like, I don't know, posing hands, we'll call them, which I guess would make sense because we're talking about a Spider-Man who very much was about that kind of thing. So, like, let's see if we can't do something with him here. Oh my gosh, he's very tight. There. But something very much to an extent where the leg is down. Maybe this arm is forward a bit. There, that would very much be a type of tokusatsu pose right there. There. Tokusatsu pose. Spider-Man. That's him right there. He would kind of take a raw type of pose and then shoot webs or jump or do something crazy. His spider here is very much 1970s live action costume. I like how these are boots. And the reason I'm going to point that out is because even on the modern movie Spider-Man, you don't see this. Like, on modern movie Spider-Man, yeah, that's a boot, but it's not, it doesn't hit the same way as this does. Like, those are very much 1970s aesthetics. These are old kind of boots that are worn here. I like that. He's got the big red tick. I don't like this on his back. I'm tired of that where they keep reusing the body that had the little hole in it. I think it breaks up the sculpt. If there's nothing to put on his back, you should have sculpted a different body that could have been reused 1,000 times that didn't have a hole in its back. Like, I don't understand that. I have no idea why you would do that, why you would continuously use the body that has a hole in its back. This is not one with the lower ab crunch, but one could argue that makes sense for this, because this is a 1970s tokusatsu type show, and that kind of show, these guys, yeah, they move well, they're martial artists and everything, but this is a dude. You get what I'm saying? This is a guy in a costume using a TV budget. So we're not going to get the same kind of crazy that we get out of a CG Spider-Man, or even all the way up to a Tobey Maguire-esque Spider-Man where he could take a couple of poses here and there. And yet, if you ever watch the show, he did strike some pretty sweet poses, and he did look the part for what it was worth multiple times. He even did powers better in some cases in that show than we did in the 1970s show that we did here. So, like, it is kind of wild when I think about just how spot on they were in some cases and how off we were in some cases. This guy's cool. Like, I like his mask. I like it because I don't know if you can even get this, but that's his ear. Like, that's his ear. You can see his ear because this mask was just one of those masks that you would slip onto your face. It's not like now where, like with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, they have the shield that's built into the mask that gives him that stability. That wasn't this. Like, so this is actually kind of cool because it went out of its way to add that detail where you can actually see that that's his ear and whatnot. That's his nose. There's some wrinkles in the top part of the mask right here. Like, those are little minor things. That's his mouth right there. That's his mouth. That's cool. Like, that's a cool level of detail that I would not have expected out of a Spider-Man like this, which is very much just kind of a gimmicky thing that they could have given us and walked away and been done. And most of us probably would have been happy with it. This is pretty cool. This guy's low-key amazing. I mean, he is. He's very simple, but there's so many little areas of detail that I didn't even point out. Like if you, down by his legs, there's like wrinkles in the costumes. Up around his shoulders, there's wrinkles in the costumes. Down where his gloves, like where his wrists are, there's wrinkles right there, where very blatantly this is a sleeve that's pulled up over another glove. Like, there's enough detail here that it kind of floors me, if you want the truth of it. I gotta hand it to them. They did it with this guy. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with this guy. He is everything that he needs to be. He does not overstay his welcome necessarily. He doesn't get the perfect Spider-Man body. But one could argue that made sense artistically for what he is. His face sculpt isn't perfect. Well, one could argue that it is perfect for what it's supposed to be, but what I mean is it's not comic or modern movie perfect. But that's perfect. His arms having all the wrinkles and everything instead of being the skin-tight uniforms that we're used to, that's perfect. His colorization, I like it. It's perfect. The tiny little dip in the Spider-Man pelvis area where instead of just the belt straight across, it has the little dip of color. That's perfect. Look. The boots not being perfect, having the little sole on the bottom of the feet, perfect. The build seems very much like just a guy. Not way too strong, not way too big, not way too built, just a decently in shape guy. That's perfect. I gotta say, I never expected this to be one of the Spider-Man figures that blows me away, but it does. It absolutely does. I'm impressed. Now, I'm in debate about doing another video. What Spider-Man do I need? Like, what ones am I still hunting? And also, of what I have, what are my top 5 Spider-Man? But, do I do a top 5 Spider-Man? Or do I wait until I get the ones that I'm hunting? But then one could argue by the time I get that, there'll be more Spider-Mans added to the mix. And with the way videos go here, would that become its own problem? I'll debate it. I'm not going to make any promises here or there because there's so much to film and so much to talk about and so much to open and so many topics I want to go over that this could end up falling into the background and becoming a nothing anything anyway, and I don't want to have made a promise about something and then simply never did it. But I think a top 5 is not a bad idea. In all honesty, I just got to figure out when and if I'm going to do it. And I also think for sure I'm going to do that What Spider-Man Do I Need video. So, that's that. I'm going to get out of here. Japanese Spider-Man added to the shelf. Awesome. Like, honestly, a sleeper hit, if you ask me. This guy is spectacular. One might even say amazing. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.